Hello, just doing a quick charts of interest before I head off for the Easter break, and there's some interesting developments. I said I've been looking at this resistance on the weekly. Wasn't sure if we were going to get up to test this, but we have now. So look how far it is down to the Kijunsen here. So it's a similar looking setup to what we had back here, but the MACD is still in too much momentum to the upside yet. We had a bit of turning over a bit here back in October last year, so it's certainly looking like it wants to turn over, but it could consolidate just a bit under here first. So when we come back from Easter, it's going to be interesting. But look at the distance from the 100 MA on the daily as well. So and the daily MACD is now crossed down, so it's going to be interesting to see if see what happens with this, and no guarantees that it's going to do one thing or another, but you're just looking at the evidence and trading accordingly. So it's going to be one of those things that it could surprise and break out to the upside. There's no saying it won't, but the evidence is suggesting that we could get a rejection off here. Maybe it's only a small one, but I don't want to anticipate what's going to happen, but we're going to be just looking at it as it progresses. So, and the VIX is not really doing much at all. The VIX is daily still down, daily MACD is still down, and it's not looking like this wants to bounce at all here, but the MACD on the VIX is still very much to the downside on the weekly VIX too. So this is a very strong support base here. So this, just seeing if this support base holds here around the $12 mark, $12. It's at 12.60, around about the 12 mark here, so just see what happens with that. But I am anticipating this to the daily. I'm anticipating the daily to turn up a bit here, but it's not looking that volatility is dropping off. And when people get too complacent, that's when it's likely to reverse and catch you by surprise. But anything can happen after we get back from the Easter break, so we have to see. The junk bonds are still holding up fairly well too, so there's no weakness in junk bonds to speak of yet, and it's looking like the weekly junk bonds are above the Kumo, so don't want to really make any assumptions about what's going to happen yet, but it's going to be interesting to see as this plays out. And this is the Nasdaq. This is a double top here back in October last year, and then got to break below the centre line on the MACD as well, break below the 100, and then it just took off to the downside following that, and then just did a massive V-shaped reversal, which is very similar to what happened in 2016, and now it's testing up. I didn't think it would get up to test this level again with it just in one straight line like this, but it has, and just shows you what whether it was to do with stock buybacks mostly. I think that was the cause of this rally, but it's going to be interesting to see what it does here. You can't make assumptions about it, as I said, but the weekly Kijunsen's way down here, so. And whenever the MACD is still in strong momentum to the upside, though, still, so whether it just consolidates here a bit or something, it's hard to say, but it's going to be interesting to see how this resolves. You don't really want to make assumptions about it, as I said, and the DAX has been real nice. The DAX has been in a V-shaped reversal as well, and the weekly's now above the centre line, so it's interesting, and it's been quite good long trading on taking calls on the DAX. It's been good really good this year, and hit this hard on the downside last year with the puts. And US dollar is caught in this daily 4 hour on the dollar. The daily's in this tight range here, but the 4 hour is below the trend here, so it's very hard to say what the dollar's going to do when we come back from the Easter break. But it's very, very undecided and very choppy. And emerging markets are not seeing any strength in the dollar because their emerging markets are well bid. So if they were seeing any strength in the dollar, this wouldn't be so heavily bid like it is. So they're expecting weakness in the US dollar, according to what this evidence is showing. But it could be short-lived, though. Could turn around after Easter. It's hard to say. Oil's been in this tight range on the daily here, so it's been getting a few day trades on oil, but the daily MACD's crossed down now, so just seeing what oil does at the moment. And it's a little bit of a consolidation, and the weekly Kijensens turned down, but that doesn't really mean that price will turn down. It's just more of a consolidation. You expect a consolidation here on the weekly. So UGAS has been a strong, natural gas ETF has been a strong downtrend here. It's just been collapsing ever since. So the weekly MACD is just starting to cross up now. So it's going to be interesting to see if this starts to break back above the weekly trender again, because the Kijensens way up here. So it's going to be one of those seasonal things when the demand seasonality kicks in. I expect this to start to rally again like it did back here in September last year, and then it really took off, and that's when the a lot of people got caught by surprise, and the same thing could happen again this time. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Kijensens really holding up here strongly. So the gold's turned a bit. Gold's seeing a stronger US dollar at the moment, and it's turned off the weekly MACD's turned down, and this broke down. This support here broke down at the 100-day MA, so gold's now turned off that uptrend, and J-Dust is ETF for bear inverse, an inverse on when you're bearish on the junior gold miners, you go long on this ETF. So it's been a good one, and I'm always looking for these misallocations to target up to the $60 mark here. Not to say it'll get there, but that's what I'm looking for always with my watch lists, my trading. So, and to finish off, we've got Apple. Apple's coming up for an earnings announcement right here, about the 1st of May, I think it is, and it's just a little consolidation here, but so that's about it. Just that's about it. Have a look what it looks like after the Easter break, but it's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot of interesting. This is the sort of thing that I'm always looking for: big swings, swing wide on the Kijensens here, and then it broke down late last year, and then I've got a big swing up to the Kijensens this year. So that's what I'm always looking for: these big distortions in price now. Depending on after earnings, I'll be looking to take up a position in Apple again, but I'll see how it goes. But that's just a basic idea of what I'm looking at, and there's plenty of other. I've got a heap of other charts that I could show, but gets a bit boring after 10 minutes or so, so that's it. Bye for now.